Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Happy Sunday. So we just got home from church and I am about to go in and bathe some standard poodle puppies. If they were around here, I would show you. But I'll start off introducing myself. My name is Emily and I am a faithful follower of Christ, and I am addicted to sugar, flour, and binging. And this is my Connect the Dots video, and I hope I can make it nice and concise. Let's see, here we go. These are some dots that I've connected lately. So I made a video a while back called Bury It and Don't Dig It Back Up. I can see now that was a great video. I'm going to leave it up. It was well intentioned, but probably also wishful thinking that my journey would somehow miraculously become I'm not going to say perfect or without bumps, but that I was to the point where I wouldn't dig it back up. And I did. I dug it back up. And just like Joel Osteen said years ago, I heard him say, you know, when we bury something, when we bury sin, don't dig it back up. When it's been underground, when it's been in the grave, and you dig it back up, it's going to stink. So I was very relieved that when I dug it back up, which means I binged my brains out Friday, December 11th, I was relieved that there weren't any immediate consequences. I thought, hey, fantastic. I can tell I've been white knuckling and trying to be really, really, really good and do this. But I tell people white knuckles are red flags. White knuckles means that you are trying to depend on your own strength to do it, and you're holding on tight. If you are white knuckling something, you're more than likely fearing something. You're afraid that if you let go, something's going to happen. And that is not 2 Corinthians 12:9. That's not letting his strength be shown in our weakness. That's not surrendering to him. That is depending on our own strength, which will fail every time. And so I can look back and see that must have been almost 70 days ago that I buried sugar and I buried flour and said, never again, never again, never again will I dig this back up. I'm looking at the tree now that I buried it up underneath, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I buried it, but I think I thought that ceremony was going to magically, miraculously keep me from being in any kind of situation where I need it. And I most definitely am and always will be in situations where I would have the old me would have turned to my drug. So I was white knuckling. White knuckles are red flags. If you're white knuckling something, if you're holding on tight, that's a red flag. We don't want white knuckles. We want white flags. We want to surrender. So here's the little story on the December 11th binge. I'll make it very, very quick because it's boring, but it was the Friday that we were heading to Missouri to pick up 2 puppies. And so I purposely let myself stay up nesting, not putting my sleep as a priority. Actually, I was. I naively thought that I could stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning getting a lot done. And the elf on the shelf visited our house that night, so I was just up late. Naively thinking that I could sleep the whole way to Missouri. I could not. I slept for a few hours, and when it was time to get myself and 3 little kids in the car, my husband let me know he needed me to drive. So here I was, deliriously tired, needing to drive, and I thought, I'm desperate for energy. I need energy. I don't know what else to do but binge, right? Might as well get this party started. And I prayed and prayed and prayed to God because I did not want to take that first bite of binging if I didn't sense that I had his blessing or his permission. And he let me binge, but let me tell you, it reminds me of when a kid's trying to quit smoking, like a teenager or something, and the parent says, yeah, you can smoke, go ahead. In fact, smoke 2 packs before noon and see what happens. So I did. I binged, and I just ate my whole way to Missouri. And I'm not going to lie, it was fun. But let me tell you what happened. I instantly felt relief. I was like, oh, yay! I just did it. I did the thing I've been fearing. And I don't have any desire to live this lifestyle again. I knew that the next day I would be back on track. I knew I wanted to be. So in my, again, naivety, in my naive mind, I thought, no consequences. But there were major consequences. And I came to realize that Friday was fun. Saturday was fine. Sunday, I had a migraine that was so alarming. I thought, these are the kind of headaches people have, and then find out they have a brain tumor. And by Monday, I was experiencing depression and anxiety that caused me to have what I would consider passive suicidal thoughts. So I am no stranger to depression and anxiety. I have had mental health issues since I was diagnosed at 19, and I'm grateful for them. It took me 5 or 6 years to, probably longer than that actually. It's been 21 years that I've been managing my own mental health, and I'm grateful. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago actually that I realized, oh wow, I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for the perspective it gives me on things, for the empathy that I have for others, for the insight and the experience and the knowledge of mental health issues, and the way our brains work, and the way our bodies work, and the way our decisions affect all of it. So I'm very familiar with depression and anxiety. And by Monday, and I mean in a 45-minute span, the chemicals in my brain got so out of whack that I was having what I would call passive suicidal thoughts. Not active suicidal thoughts. I was not thinking about harming myself. But I was so depressed. I had met with my sponsor and was pretty excited to tell her. I was like, hey, yeah, I binged and I learned a good lesson. I can't count on rest. I cannot stay up late and then think I'll be able to rest the next day. That's the big lesson I learned. No, it's not. That is not the big lesson. That's not the takeaway from that. It wasn't until I got home from her house and I needed to get 3 kids and 3 puppies in the car to go to a Christmas program that the depression set in. And unless you've experienced depression, you probably cannot imagine what it feels like. It's not sadness. It's a lack of any emotion. It's like looking around and thinking, I cannot do this. I cannot manage this. I cannot take care of myself, let alone my 5 kids, my 4 dogs, my 8 cats. It can feel like a lot when I'm not well. And in a 45-minute span, I went from like feeling tired to depressed. And I stood there at the island making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for my kids that were watching me, weeping. I was crying. And my 4-year-old was hugging me and telling me, I love you and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I knew I needed sleep. I knew I needed rest. I knew the chemicals in my brain needed to reset. My older son walked in and my 4-year-old told him, Charlie, Mama's been crying. Mama's been crying. I put all those kids in the car and I was driving down the road and thought, if that car hit me, it'd be all over. If that semi ran into me, it'd be all over. I was having thoughts. Again, it doesn't take weeks to build up to a chemical shift. It blows my mind sometimes how it can happen very quickly, and it does not happen very often for me at all. I've experienced 2 major depressions in my life, and the last one was 13 years ago. So for me to experience depression is very unusual, but I'm very aware of exactly, I recognize it like a switch went off. So the binge happened Friday. Again, Friday was fun. Saturday was fine. Sunday was marked with a migraine. And by Monday, I was experiencing depression and anxiety that, again, I rarely experience, and I have certainly not experienced anything prolonged for 13 years. Nothing that lasts more than an hour. And so I took all the kids. We tried to get the Christmas stuff. I called my husband. I said, I want to stop and now listen to this. I wanted to stop and get a pizza in a blizzard. And I knew that would just be the beginning. Our drug is what we turn to feel better. And we do for a moment. And then we feel infinitely worse and find ourselves wanting to turn to it again. So by the grace of God and by the grace of my dear sweet husband, I didn't. I came home. I put myself to bed. I reached out to a couple different friends, one of which, Diana, reminded me that sugar and flour are known to cause inflammation in the brain, which is known to cause depression and anxiety. And my point is that when I dug it back up on Friday, it didn't stink. It was fun. It didn't really stink the next day either. It was delayed stink. I binged on Friday, and it was Monday that I was having thoughts of what a relief it'd be for it to all be over. So another friend said, watch this week's vlog. If you haven't, I'm gonna link it below. Susan Pierce Thompson, her vlog this week on co-regulation. She talks about how sugar and flour are known depressants and vegetables are known antidepressants. So here's some dots that I'm connecting. Sugar and flour are drugs. If it started off as a plant and it ends up a powder, it is by definition a drug. It's a dose-dependent drug. Sugar and flour are drugs. Caffeine is a drug. I looked up the word drug. Drug is medicine or any other substance that we ingest and it has a psychological effect on us. So think about that. I do not want to be eating things for the psychological effect it'll have on my brain. I want to eat food for fuel. And I naively, is that the word for this video, naive? I naively ate it Friday morning so that I could fuel my trip. But it was not giving me energy. It was having a psychological effect on my brain. One that was welcomed and enjoyed on Friday. I instantly became happy mom and had quote unquote energy. It is not energy. It's chemicals being released. It's dopamine. It's adrenaline. It's dopamine. So it continues to have a psychological effect for days. So I was thinking about it like this the other day. Imagine going to your doctor and he's saying, oh, you're feeling bad? I'm going to prescribe something to you. I think I have lipstick on my teeth. I'm going to prescribe something to you. And it will, I promise you, it'll make you feel better at first. But then shortly thereafter, you'll have a migraine, you'll be depressed. You'll be way worse off than you were when you first took it. And if you take it over and over, you'll get hooked on it. You'll have to have help, and it'll be really difficult to get off. It'll eventually get to where you have to have this to function. So, I mean, we would be crazy to take it. And we do every single day. And I give it to my kids, sugar and flour. But they are not addicted to it the way I am. And I hope they don't become addicted to it the way I am. I tell them, do not use it. So the dots that I'm connecting are that sugar and flour are drugs. Drugs are something that you ingest to change something psychologically. And then I look around at people that are hooked on so many other things, and my heart goes out to them. Because if you imagined a table and there was 50 little piles of white powder on it, and one of those piles was meth, one of those piles was cocaine, one of those little piles, and just imagine 50 little piles of white powder. One was sugar, one was caffeine, one was flour, one was ibuprofen, one was Tylenol, one was Lexapro, there were some antidepressants on there, there were some mood stabilizers, there were some antipsychotics on there, heroin. All of those are drugs. There are people who will never in their lifetime sit across from a therapist and tell that therapist how they feel. There are people that will never, not once in their lifetime, sit across from a psychiatrist and have that psychiatrist prescribe exact doses of very specific drugs to do exactly what their brain needs it to do. So many people without those opportunities that I have had, I have sat across from the best doctors in the best hospitals. I've gotten the best care, and I don't take it for granted. But these people that don't have those experiences, but they still have a mind that has a mind of its own, of course they're going to turn to these other piles to help manage or cope with life. And I'm increasingly motivated to never turn to my drug of choice again, which is sugar and flour, to what I've gotten my body hooked on. I've told groups of women before, you can eat whatever you want. You just got to train your body to want the right things. Susan Pierce Thompson talks about NMF, not my food. Sugar and flour are not my drug. They're not for my body. My body does not need them to function. And I was telling my sponsor last week, I said, how do I take it off the table? How do I take sugar and flour off the table to where I don't ever want it, where I can't choose it again? And my friend Diana pointed out again, she said, it will always be a choice. That's a gift from God that we have free will and we get to choose. He doesn't force himself or his love upon us. He doesn't force himself in the sense that he's there. He wants a relationship with us, but he allows us to step forward into it. If he wanted to control everything here on earth, he would. I've heard people say before, why doesn't he stop these natural disasters from happening? For the same reason he doesn't keep us from touching a hot stove. We are not robots. He doesn't have a console up there like a video game. We get to choose, and I will always get to choose sugar and flour if I want. I am relieved to have dug it up and let go of the white knuckles, because what I really need is a white flag. I need to surrender, and I need to see God let me. He let me smoke 2 packs before noon. That's what it felt like giving a kid that's smoking cigarettes 2 packs and saying, here, smoke every one of them. Smoke every one of them. Make yourself sick. And I made myself sick. But I was naive. I had no idea how sick I would be by Monday afternoon. And by the grace of God, with bright meal after bright meal after bright meal, the depression and anxiety are gone. They're lifted. Now, I do take medication, and I do set my schedule up. My sponsor said, Emily, your sleep has to be as sacred to you as your eating. So for instance, with me, it would not work for me to be a nurse and work 3rd shift. I would get my circadian rhythm out of whack. I have to keep things that I can control in in as much order as I can control. This right here. So there's Serenity Prayer. This is my study Bible. NIV Life Application Study Bible. They're the best. If you need a study Bible, treat yourself to one of these. Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I've got to do what I can. I've got to do my part to set my life up so that I can prevent getting to where I want to turn to my drug. But I also need to keep in mind that turning to my drug has dire consequences. And like my sponsor pointed out, okay, here comes my Franklin. I'm making a video, Franklin.
What?
You're in my video. Say hi.
Hello. Can you call Thomas and tell him to come pick me up now?
Yep, I'll call him in just a minute. Going back in. What are the puppies doing?
Walter's just laying out on the bed. I think Jubilee's walking around.
Okay. All right, I'll be in a minute.
Oh, and can I call, or I'll call them with Dad.
Okay, thanks. So my sponsor told me I need to have an EAP. And no, she actually was telling me, Emily, you need to have a plan, girl. You need to have a plan. And I was like, I do have a plan. I'll get to bed earlier. Ha, 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 ha. That's hilarious, right? My plan cannot be to prevent every emergency. That's not a plan. I can't control everything. Like this Serenity Prayer, there's a few things I can, but there's so much that I can't. If if somebody was in a car wreck or had an allergic reaction and we're in the emergency room all night long, I cannot turn to my drug. That cannot be what I do in emergencies. That cannot be in my back pocket. That cannot be, I was asking my sponsor, how do I get it out of my back pocket? It's like my ace up my sleeve. It's like when I can't handle life, I've got this thing that I can do. No, I can't. It's too high a price. Maybe I used to be able to turn to sugar and flour, but I'm telling you, I've been doing bright line eating for 14 months now. 13 months, right about 14 months. 13 and a half. Okay. I do not have the tolerance that I did. Now these substances, these drugs, they hit my system and they have these just dire effects on me. So she was saying, you need a plan. And I was like, you guys, I used to teach special education. It was so much paperwork. So when Susan Pierce Thompson talks about having an EAP, an emergency action plan, I'm like, I don't want to write an EAP because I used to write so many IEPs. Special ed, anybody? Excuse me, I have a hair in my eye. I used to write so many individual education plans and they were like 50 pages long, and EAP sounds a lot like that. So I'm like, I don't know. And to be honest, I was so arrogant thinking I didn't need an emergency action plan. Oh my gosh, you guys forgive me. This is driving me crazy. Okay. I was arrogant thinking I don't need one. I don't need one. I'm good. I'm like pretty strong-willed. No, this has nothing. This is why my heart goes out to people hooked on like much harder things. Because I think if I didn't have everything that I have, I don't know where I would be. So, most people are well-intentioned, just trying to cope with life. Anyways, she said, this past Monday, you need a plan. You need some kind of plan so that doesn't happen again. She said, if you come walking in here next Monday and tell me, oops, I had another hiccup, she said, then I'm going to tell you I'm starting to see a pattern. I mean, she called me on it. She's an excellent sponsor. So I said, oh my gosh, you're telling me I need an EAP. And she was like, ding, ding, ding. Again, I never wrote one because I didn't want to. It just sounded like too much like special ed paperwork. I was arrogant. I was too arrogant to think I didn't need one. And also, I fight these like perfectionistic tendencies that I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to put on it. How could I possibly look into the future and know what I would need in the future? Well, let me tell you for certain, in the future, I definitely won't know what I need when I'm out of my mind at the emergency room with a sick kid or something like that. So here's my emergency action plan. Number 1, reach out. When I start having thoughts of binging, instantly reach out. Nope, that's number 2. Number 1 is pray. Just like recenter myself and pray. Because now that I've experienced the depression and the anxiety that comes along with the sugar and flour that has a psychological effect on my brain because it's a drug. These are the dots that I'm connecting. Sugar and flour, step, hop, dot. Sugar and flour, for me, I end up with suicidal thoughts. And that is no dramatization. I'm not being dramatic there. It's the truth. I've had people say, then why don't you just have a little? That's the whole point. I don't want a little. I'm not interested in a little. When I get going on it, it's like, what alcoholic on the planet wants a beer or two? No alcoholic on the planet wants a beer or two. If they did, they would not be an alcoholic. So what my brain does not want a little, my brain wants a hit. And it takes so much to get that. And again, I've lost almost 100 pounds. I do not eat like this anymore on a regular basis. It had a horrible effect on me. Friday was fun. Saturday was fine. Sunday, there was a migraine that I thought, this is emergency room kind of migraine. And Monday, I was depressed like I haven't been in years. Again, by the grace of God, it only lasted a little while. And I do believe he had me experience that. He said, go ahead, smoke 2 packs before noon. If you're not just going to take my word for it, girl, you're going to have to experience it. And I did. So if I'm wanting to turn to my drug, I want to pray, and then I want to instantly reach out. Just like my last video, Dear Diana, I want to instantly reach out, and I want to instantly stop those thoughts from growing. The next thing I want to do is come up with at least three step plan of action. And all I mean is any action. So I tell myself 3 things. I'm going to go brush my teeth, drink a bottle of water, and hang a picture on the wall. Or I'm going to take the puppies out, and then I'm going to call my friend and check on her, and then I'm going to fold a load of laundry. Or I'm going to play basketball with Franklin, and then scrub those dirty boots that I've been meaning to scrub for a month, and then I'm going to read 1 chapter of Genesis in the Bible. Notice it doesn't matter. I'm going to come up with a 3-step plan of action that is anything other than binging. So if I were driving in the car, it could be, I'm going to drink a bottle of water, I'm going to listen to 3 songs, and then I'm going to play a road game with my kids, some kind of like road trip game. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to pray, I'm going to reach out to a friend, I'm going to come up with that 3-step plan, I'm going to do it, and then I'll repeat if necessary. And I'm going to do something for someone else. And then the last thing, and this might be the most important, this is special ed talk for you. Tension release. I'm going to cry if necessary. When I'm wanting to binge, it's like you shook a 20-ounce soda. The pressure is building. And a lot of times crying helps. It releases chemicals in our brains, it releases the tension, and it allows us to just finally surrender. So crisis CPA, crisis prevention, CPI, crisis prevention intervention, I don't know. We used to do this every year at a training for special ed when we would have children that were like going crazy and we had to restrain them. When they're like, their behavior was out of control. I taught kids with severe special needs, severe behavior issues, and emotional issues. So these kids that were like losing their minds, going crazy, fighting, kicking, screaming, biting, throwing things. You're finally home, you're finally around the bend, you finally turn the corner when they finally cry and they're lucid again. And they can say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Sometimes. They don't always apologize. But they can finally calm down and relax. That's the point we have to get to when we're throwing that fit, when our addiction is throwing a fit, when our addiction is like kicking and screaming and saying, yes, 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 this is the right thing to do. give me my drug. And when we can tell it no, and we can tell ourselves that just lovingly, sternly if we need to, just like you're dealing with a 2-year-old, no, you're not going to get it. I think it's very healthy to go ahead and cry. So that's always going to be the first thing I'm going to do is pray. The last thing I'll do, if necessary, is cry. Make my way right through that moment. By the grace of God, I will keep things in place that have helped me get this far. I always say, just like when people take their medicine, they feel better, they quit taking it. Don't quit taking it. It's what's making you feel better. I mean, sometimes you can get weaned off of it for different reasons, but typically if there's something, eating your vegetables, literally, going for daily walks, having a better nighttime routine, if all of a sudden you feel like you've gotten yourself out of that funk, out of that rut, and it's because of these things you've been doing, don't quit doing them. So hopefully I've gotten enough things in place. I've got a sponsor. I go to Celebrate Recovery. I'm in a Bible reading group. I weigh and measure my food. I have an accountability partner right now, that Diana, that we send each other our food back and forth every night. She emailed me a document where I can X off the days. That's in the 14-day challenge if you haven't done it. How did Jerry Seinfeld write comedy every single day for years and years and years? He put an X on the calendar and he just did not want to miss an X. So don't reward ourselves for products like weight loss. Let's reward ourselves for process, like 10 X's in a row, that you're doing it, that you're following the program. So by the grace of God, I've got a lot of things in place. I'm going to keep them in place. I'm taking better care of myself than ever. I drink 2 bottles of water before each meal, typically. So I earn each meal with water. I've got a better nighttime routine. I've been doing something fun with my mom where we help each other get tasks done around the house. Anyways, we're over the phone. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I gave her all my tasks. She gives me all hers, and then I pull one out of a jar for her and say, okay, go do this thing. She's like, all right, I'm on it. Anyways, got a lot of good things in place, and I'm optimistic that as I keep them in place, I will find myself less and less desperate for my drug. But I'm not going to be so naive as to think that I can control everything, because I can't. So down below, I'm going to put Susan Pierce Thompson's vlog on co-regulation. I'm also going to type out my emergency action plan. I'm pretty proud that I have one. And I think that's it. So let me go ahead and well, I'm hesitant, but I will share if this might help any of you. I'll share my diagnosis. And again, I will shout it from the rooftops. I'm thrilled to share about it. I really am. I want to help people. I am grateful to have both mental health issues and addiction. Because when I see these in other people, I can see the way mental health, addiction, and really rough life circumstances often get swirled around together. And I'm aware that that's not my experience because of the resources that have been made available to me. So if I can help others, I want to look them in the eyes and say, hang in there. There is hope. You can do this. And you're not alone. So I will share with you that when I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And it's something that I have learned to manage. Like I've said before, if we all put our problems in a big pile, we'd be real quick to grab ours right back out. I've experienced some really dark times. And my dear husband has been with me through them. It's absolutely our love story. He drove 4 hours once when we were little puppies in love. He drove 4 hours to visit me for 15 minutes in a psychiatric unit. And now I just could not be more proud and honored to be his wife and the mother of his children. And God gives us what we need. And I certainly have my needs met. And like the Footprints prayer I've said before, at the end of that prayer, at the end of that poem, the person says to God, but God, why in the sand is there only one set of footprints? And God says, because that, my child, is when I carried you. And I've jokingly said before that I would ask God, but God, why? Why in the sand is there one set of footprints and one long line? And he would say to me, because that, my dear, is where I drug you. It's where I drug you through all kinds of stuff. And trust me, I'm not kidding. I've been through some rough times, but I am immensely grateful for them, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. So thank you, God, for his goodness. Thank you for sending, thank you, God, for sending your son, Jesus. Happy birthday, Jesus. Merry Christmas to all you all. And just know that I am with you on this journey. And this journey of addiction is in large part also a journey of mental health, because these things that we're addicted to are drugs, and the drugs have a psychological effect. So let's let the drug issuing be left to the professionals. And if you're addicted to sugar and flour like I am, hang in there. We can do this. It is literally everywhere, isn't it? Isn't it just everywhere? It blows my mind now that I see things the way I do, when I see how much sugar and flour is given to my children from all the adults in our lives, including me. The elf brought sugar and flour. Santa Claus is bringing sugar and flour. So anyways, very interesting. Again, my heart goes out to people, all people. It really does. Even the people that we think we hate the most. If you saw a picture of them, if you think of the person in your life, or like the group of people, or like the just the worst people on the planet, that we would all probably agree that's a pretty bad group of people. If we saw a picture of them when they were 6 months old, it'd be hard to hate them. We all are managing these lives that we're living, and some better than others, but the important thing is trajectory, what direction we're headed in. And from an early age, people's lives have been without any choice of their own. Their lives were sent in a very dark direction. And I just want us to do what we can to send this day in a good direction, send tomorrow in a good direction, send our lives in a good direction, control the trajectory of our lives as much as possible, and for those around us, do the same for them. So all of it in the name of Jesus, because good without God is just helping people be comfortable here on earth, and there's so much more than the eyes can see. So again, that was my video on connecting dots. Yes, sugar and flour are drugs, but what's a drug? A drug is something that causes a psychological effect. And that psychological effect is highly negative. Negative. Yes, day 1 was fun. Day 2 was fine. But days 3 and 4 got ugly and dark and bad. And something I'd rather not experience ever again in my life. Also, the final dot to connect is that this cannot be. It can't be a journey of white knuckling. It has to be a journey of white flags. So let's surrender to Jesus. That's what I'll aim to do. I'm going to get off of here, text my mom, and go bathe some puppies. In fact, I tell you what, I will add a couple clips of these puppies to the end of this video. So the black one is Walter. The apricot and white party is mine. My little Jubilee. I just adore her. I love Walter too, and I'm so glad we got him, because boy, do they keep each other entertained. But anyways, all right. I'll show you some poodles. I love you dearly. Merry Christmas. Be well. Okay, here's the puppies. Come here, Walter. Come here, Jubilee. There. There's the puppies. Let's turn you around here. This is my puppy. My little Jubilee. And this is Clara and Walter. Walter is actually Franklin's puppy.
Pearl's
Oh, aren't they sweet and so soft? So soft.
You just not train them to eat the...
Oh, yeah, we don't want to train them to eat the hamsters.
Yeah, they're going to get ginormous. Probably bigger than that frame. Or that
Yeah, they will. They'll get like really, really big. Oh, it just got dark. Okay, so here's my little Jubilee, my little apricot and white.
And
She was special ordered.
And this is her little daughter.
Yeah, this is my little Clara, my little apricot. She's got apricot hair. All right, so I'm going to attach all this stuff below. And my emergency action plan, I actually left a couple things out. In the event that I feel tempted to the point of actually considering turning to my drug, I will. Number 1, pray. Number 2, reach out to a fellow Brightline eater and share that I'm thinking about binging. Number 3, drink 32 ounces of water, because that is an excellent strategy to just get your brain in a better place. Number 4, create a plan of action, at least 3 steps that does not involve eating, and then execute that plan and repeat if necessary. And again, this is literally to engage my brain in some type of activity other than binging and distract or lure myself away from those thoughts. So it doesn't even matter what it is, but I'm going to come up with 3 things and then go do them. And then if I need to, I'll do 3 more, 3 more, 3 more. I might have to do 333 things to get myself away from those thoughts. So number 5 would be execute that plan. No, number 5 is do something for someone else. Number 6, repeat sugar and flour cause depression and anxiety 7 times. I'm going to say that over and over. And number 7, cry if necessary. That will all be down below. All right. I love those puppies, but I love my kids even more. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.